I'm Ben, Shoestring Engineering, and I'm here to talk to Joe Kotowski. I know Joe because I took his engineering graphics class, and he's told some very interesting stories, and I want to follow up with more. So,
All
first
right.
question
Happy
I
to
have,
be here.
huh?
Happy to be here.
And so you should probably tell him like what you teach, and
Okay.
then like what school.
Sure. We're at Oakton Community College right now. This is my lab that I teach one of my classes in. And Ben was in engineering graphics with me. This is one of the freshman level design classes that we teach for pre-engineering. I also teach engineering mechanics, which is more physics-based problem solving, like bridges and structures and things like that. And then we get into statics and dynamics, and we get into how things fail and why things break, and what kind of material to make it out of, and what shape should that material be, those kind of things.
All things that really fascinate me. That's
Yeah.
why I like mechanical engineering.
There you go.
So, your background. How'd you get interested in engineering?
Well, to be honest, high school guidance counselors, if you're good at math and physics, generally they're going to tell you to go into engineering. And that's what happened. So I'll be real honest with you. I didn't know a lot about engineering going into it, and nobody in my family is an engineer. Everybody else is communications, writing, speech. My other brother's a Spanish major. So my dad is a sociology professor, so I really had very little context for engineering. It's something that I had to get along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied to U of I and Purdue because the guidance counselors recommended engineering, so I started looking at engineering, and I just kind of fell into it. But it ended up that I really enjoyed it and just pursued it my whole life.
Awesome. And you're a teacher, so how long have you been doing this teaching thing in engineering?
Well, I started teaching when I was part-time, when I was working for Ford in Michigan. And I taught a couple of years at night. Actually, I'm more of a mechanical engineer, but I was teaching an electrical engineering class, the introductory circuits course. And so I did that, and it was fun. It was hard doing it full-time. And then I came back to Chicago, worked for a small company, manufacturing company, and I was the engineering manager. But I kept, that seed had been planted, when I was teaching part-time. So when I was kind of going through transition period, and I was like, I wanted something more out of, I love the engineering, I love the problem solving, I love math, but I wanted to have more of that interaction that I have with students. So then I kind of, when I was going through transition, I was interviewing with some big firms, Motorola, firms like that, and at the same time I was pursuing this teaching path because that seed had been planted, and I thought, God, I really, but it was just kind of one of my, and then an opportunity came up here at Oakton, and it's the best thing that ever happened.
How long have you been here at Oakton?
For 24 years.
24 years. Oh, you've seen a lot of minds grow.
I think I have.
All right. So, what is an important quality to have a skill, or
as a teacher, or as an engineer?
Quality or skill for it to be an engineer?
I think you have to be. Honestly, you have to think critically. You have to think in terms of what is defining the problem, really kind of breaking it down, understanding the problem completely, and then starting to think about what tools you might have available or what solutions you might have available. So it could be a product that you're designing. It could be this coffee cup you're trying to make better, and you're like, well, some people can't get their fingers into it, So I have no problem, but a bigger person might. So you might think about changing that, or it might be a system, or it might be a complex machine. Engineers are really branching out in terms of being hired by hospitals, being hired by businesses to kind of do any system that you have, any process that you have that needs to be broken down and thinking critically. A lot of consulting people in consulting fields come from an engineering background. So it's not just about, the product and the design of the product, but it's also about systems, computer systems, customer service systems, could be anything.
So critical thinking will get you anywhere.
Critical thinking, yeah.
And what were the challenges of becoming an engineer?
Well, look, the classes, the classes are a barrier, and universities are recognizing this, that the attrition rate in engineering is higher than it should be, and we're losing some good people, and we're losing some underrepresented groups that aren't making it through some of those initial barriers. I mean, for me, physics was just killer. I mean, it was the only C I got in college was in physics. I was almost ready to give up, but they're tough classes, and they're taught in a very traditional way sometimes, which makes it difficult to kind of get motivated. And you just have to learn how to navigate that. So, I mean, you have to be a good independent worker and thinker, but you also have to know how to form study groups, and you have to know how to network with people, and figure out how to be successful on those exams, those kind of things.
You said underrepresented groups. What did you mean by that?
Persons of color, females. Nationally, I think we're probably 20% female, 25 maybe. That number's on the rise. But that's something that engineering programs across the country are kind of keying in on. We're losing a lot of good insight into, being part of a team, and insight into, people who look at the world maybe in a different way, in that creative process. So, we just can't focus on the same that we've always had.
So engineering has to grow along with the rest of society. Absolutely,
and they've got to, one of the things that, they talk about being more female friendly, for instance, and that actually, if we mirror what industry does, which is to work in groups and work in teams and have this collaborative process, then we're actually playing to the strengths of females, traditional strengths of females. So, it's not just about being the brainiac in the corner solving problems by himself. It's really about tapping into those group skills.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So last question today is, what does Engineering Open 1 up to? And I think you went into that with seeing systems and...
Yeah. I mean, 40% of mechanical engineers get into fields that are not directly related to mechanical engineering in title. They get into, and I mean, that's the field I'm most familiar with, but I'm sure it's true for other fields, maybe not as much. But engineers can do anything. I really honestly believe that. I mean, it's a rigorous curriculum. You're kind of forged into fire. You work hard. You have to learn some good study skills and some good problem-solving skills, and like I said, the networking skills, the group skills. I really honestly believe an engineer could get into business and do well. Maybe not be a nurse. That might be something, but in terms of what's out there, in terms of the jobs that are out there, engineers are being tapped for things they traditionally haven't done. And there's a recognition out there in industry that these are, I mean, the knock against engineers has been they're not good communicators, they're not good people persons. That's changing. And the curriculum's changing to reflect that. and the type of people who are going into engineering are reflecting that kind of, going against that stereotype of the nerd or the geek. Sure, yeah, there are some of those, and they're very, some of them. But in terms of personality types, I think we have a much wider range than we used to have. Mm-hmm. So consequently, that I think business industry is really kind of recognized engineers as a good pool of talent for a lot of different things.
Awesome. So if there are 3 things you were going to say that it opens you up to, it's because it's linked to problem solving, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. I guess mental toughness with the courses. Yeah. And modern social networking with group development.
Absolutely. That was good. I like it. Good student.
I'm trying. I'm being forced in the fire currently.
That's right. That's right, you are.
All right. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
All right.
Pleasure.
Hope to do this again.
All right. Thank you.